And to begin, I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Ariane. My pronouns are she, her. And moi, depuis plus de 10 ans, je travaille dans les secteurs d'immigration,
I've been
d'éducation et
working in the immigration, community, and education sector for over 10 years.
I worked with the New Brunswick Multicultural Council for many years, where I had the privilege to lead a program for newcomer youth in the context of leadership, focusing on their mental health. And tout récemment, j'ai aussi contribué à l'actualisation de la politique d'aménagement linguistique et culturel du ministère de l'Éducation et du Développement de la
I
Petite
work
Enfance
for the Minister of Education and Development of Early Childhood in New Brunswick. We modernized the vision of French language. And immigration has an essential role to the vitality of the Acadian and Francophone community, especially in a minority context. So it is with so much pleasure that I'm hosting this panel today with my colleague Carmen as well, who's going to introduce herself soon. But
today we're going to be entering into our panel to discuss the collaboration. So today we started the morning talking about the big picture. So the morning panel gave us a little bit about that regional and national collaboration perspective. Amira also told us a lot about the complexity that comes with the SWIS role, and we learned a lot about what that meant, and we were able to deep dive into those conversations. Right now, we're going to have the privilege to actually hear from voices in the on the field. So we're going to have the perspective of youth. We're going to have the perspective as well from the school, from districts, from educator, as well as from the SWIS perspective. So this panel is going to highlight how SWIS workers support student success, empower newcomer families, and contribute to broader community integration and social cohesion. I will pass it to my colleague, Carmen.
Parfait, merci beaucoup Ariane. Donc, merci d'être ici aujourd'hui. Je sais qu'on est en fin d'après-midi.
Thank you, Ariane. I know it's the end of the afternoon, but our panelists are really excellent. So I'll just repeat what Ariane said. The panel will speak about how to support the student success, accompany migrant family, and contribute to integration and social cohesion at the community level. So we really have a frontline perspective this afternoon, which is really interesting from people that are on the field. So my name is Carmen Budilian. I am the director of programs for the New Brunswick Multicultural Council.
We do advocacy for our members. So for example, we have worked in collaboration with the education department on their new 10-year strategy, making sure that the voice of our sector are actually considered in their new strategy. So that's briefly what we do at NBMC, and we also provide resources and support for our members. So again, I'm the director of programs, and it's nice to be here today. Also, like Ariane mentioned, please grab headsets at the back because it will be switching between French and English.
Excellent. Are we ready? Yay, awesome. So Carmen, we'll go ahead and get started with introductions to see who is our lovely panel today.
Parfait. Donc, on va laisser à chacune des panélistes.
So we'll let all the panelists introduce themselves. We'll give you a minute each. So introduce yourself briefly and tell us why you're here today.
Briefly present yourself in about 1 minute and tell us who you are and why you're here today.
Maybe start with Leanne, or do you want to start on your side? Okay. Oui, parfait. Oui, ça fonctionne parfait. Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Tiavina Rabeniana.
My name is Tiavina Rabeniana, but you can call me Tita. I am the manager of newcomer services for the South districts of Francophone schools. I've had about 10 years of experience in organization in Greater Moncton in the settlement and integration sector. I collaborate with service providers in the settlement sector and other partners in the community sectors, and I'm here to speak about that also at the municipal level.
I'm Hura Asakura. I am a grade 12 high school student. I'm part of a debate club as well as Young Justice Association and Model Parliament in my school, and I'm planning on pursuing a career in law. I am here to represent the students in my school.
Hello everyone, my name is Hala Dagesh and I am a grade 12 student as a newcomer to Canada. I am a motivated high school student and I have adapted successfully to a new academic environment. I am passionate about science and aspire to pursue a career in nursing. I value learning, strategical thinking and personal growth. And I approach challenges with resilience and a positive mindset as I work toward new goals in the medical field.
Hello everyone. It's working? Yeah. Hello everyone. Thank you for having me today. So my name is Maya Ishoa. I'm working with YMCA as a school settlement staff in Halifax West High School. My role is to supporting newcomer students with their journey of their education system in education in the school, helping a newcomer with academic supports, or like since they came to the school, I'm helping them in everything they want in the school. So yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Rhoda Obang, and I am a university student at Dalhousie University, majoring in International Development Studies. I work at the YMCA, particularly youth outreach, and there we offer after-school programs, weekend programs too, to youth in shaping them in leadership skills and that. Yeah, thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Sylvie Legault, je suis agente pédagogique.
Sylvie Legault, pedagogical agent at the DSFS. I mainly work with newcomer immigrant youth on the sector of second language. Before this role, I was a principal in high school at the DSFS. I was working in the district where we welcomed the greatest number of newcomers in New Brunswick. In that region, is one of the places where we started welcoming many of the new immigration, a lot of the new families. And now I support educational teaching staff in this sector. I am Liane Brunel, consultant for EAL, meaning English as a...
that we oversee the EAL implementation of that program, and I'm also the lead for the Newcomer Welcome Center. It's the only one in the province, and we're open for 2 years now, and we work very, very closely with YMCA School Settlement here in the region.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. So thank you so much, everyone. To start with the first question, donc on va commencer avec la première question. Puis celle-ci, ça va être pour Tita,
This
Liane,
question is for
Sylvie,
Tita,
puis
Liane,
Maya.
Sylvie, and Maya.
Donc, dans votre expérience,
In your
quelles
experience,
sont les 2 ou 3 conditions
what are the
non
2 or
négociables
3
pour qu'une
conditions that are
collaboration fonctionne
non-negotiable
réellement?
so
Donc,
that
on parle au-delà
collaboration
des
can
ententes
really
formelles
work?
sur papier.
So this is beyond formal agreements on paper. So Tita?
J'ai noté quelques points
I wrote down a few
parmi les plus
points
essentiels, à part des
that are
ententes
most
papier,
essential according to
c'est
me,
d'arriver dans une
other than
approche
agreements on
d'ouverture
paper.
d'esprit,
We
de
have to
collaboration
have
et non de
a
une approche
collaborative
de
approach, be open-minded, not be competitive.
où on veut essayer de prendre un dossier
We,
de travailler toujours en
when we work on a
d'esprit de
particular
collaboration.
file, and we always
Et
have
puis,
to work
en échangeant avec
collaboratively,
la communication aussi avec les
exchange,
partenaires,
collaborate
on
with
peut voir, on
partners.
peut éviter des dédoublements de services.
By doing this, we
On
can
peut
avoid
travailler en
working in silos
complémentarité
with
et
the
puis
services,
en
work
ayant
in a
toujours cette
complementary
communication, ce
way.
dynamisme-là de travail
And
d'équipe.
when we have
On
this
clarifie les attentes,
working
les rôles,
dynamic between
qu'est-ce que chacun peut
teams, in a
apporter,
team, we
qu'est-ce qu'on
clarify
attend des autres
expectations,
résultats
roles,
et
what
qu'est-ce
we
qui relève
expect,
de
what
sa
results we
responsabilité, qu'est-ce
expect,
qui relève
what is
des autres
our
responsabilités
responsibility and what is
l'autre organisme.
responsibilities
Et
of
parce que
other
sans
organizations.
clarté,
Because
si
without
on ne sait
clarity,
pas où est-ce qu'on va, qui fait
if we
quoi,
don't know where we're
souvent c'est bien
going,
de
who does
parler, de
what,
mettre des points, mais si on ne détermine
I
pas
mean,
qui
it's
est responsable de
good
l'action, quand
to
est-ce qu'on le
speak
fait,
and
quand est-ce qu'on en reparle,
identify
on fait une évaluation de ces
different
actions,
issues,
on
but
rentre
if
dans une zone
we
grise
don't
où c'est très flou
identify
et puis ça peut
who
créer des
does
frustrations,
what,
puis ça peut créer des incompréhensions.
it can be a
Et
gray
puis,
zone and can create
je note aussi
frustrations
que la
and
pertinence de partage
miscommunication,
d'informations
incomprehensions.
dans l'avancement du
Also, what
projet
is
qui peut concerner
relevance
le
is
projet ou
sharing
que l'autre
information about
organisme organise, parce
projects
que ça peut être, comme je disais, complémentaire de ce qu'on fait.
with
Si
other
l'organisme
organizations, because
ou
this
si
can
le
be
une municipalité
complementary
organise une
in
activité ouverte à
with
tout
what
le
we do.
monde,
Also, if a
en ayant cette
municipality
information,
is
le peut partager à notre équipe
organizing an activity
et
that is
notre
open
équipe peut
to
aussi
all,
orienter directement les familles, connaissent
our
de plus en
team
plus
will then
les
be
autres
able to
organismes,
direct
leur
the
rôle,
families
et
to
comme ça
other
facilite vraiment
organizations,
des
especially if
pliages.
they
Et ça
they
permet
know
aussi de
their
partager
missions
aussi
and
des bonnes
roles
pratiques,
more.
qu'est-ce qui se
We
fait, se
can
donner
also share best
des
practices
informations,
together,
vraiment de choses concrètes, où est-ce qu'ils
concrete
peuvent, on peut
information,
louer des salles pour telle activité.
such
Ben,
as
c'est une
where
bonne
we
idée,
can
on peut
rent
refaire
halls for
une autre activité dans les
activities.
mêmes salles, on
You
connaît à
can
peu près les
realize,
prix, dans
oh,
le
well,
budget,
that's great.
etc.
We
Donc,
can
c'est
do
vraiment
our
des choses
activities
très
in the
concrètes.
same
Et puis,
locations. We know the prices.
c'est ça, une dernière
So
chose,
very
c'est
concrete
encore une
examples.
fois
One last
partager les
thing.
informations, savoir
Yeah,
où
we
l'état
have to share
d'avancement et
information,
idéalement,
see where we
ça,
are
c'est une
with our
stabilité du
work,
personnel,
and
c'est pas évident,
ideally,
mais si dans,
create a
dans
stability with the
l'organisation de quelque
staff.
chose, on a
Not
les
always
équipes qui sont
easy,
là du début
but if
jusqu'à la
we
fin
have
ou pour la
teams that
deuxième
are there
réédition du programme,
from
du projet,
beginning to
on
end
a aussi
of a
une personne contact
program
permanent, ça va
or
faciliter la
project,
communication.
if there's
Donc, voilà
permanent
quelques points
staff
que j'ai
members
notés
as
de
well,
mon côté.
this facilitates
Parfait, merci beaucoup.
communications. That's all
Donc
for
là,
my
vous avez
notes. Perfect.
souligné
Thank you so much.
beaucoup
So
de
you
bons points
mentioned
sur
a
les
lot of
conditions
good
non
points
négociables.
on
Je vais maintenant
non-negotiable
aller avec
points.
Sylvie.
Now I'll
Puis
ask Sylvie,
peut-être aussi, juste comme relancer aussi un peu la question, que
and
se
also mention the
passe-t-il dans
question
votre
again
expérience
of what,
lorsque ces
in your
conditions ne sont
experience,
pas
happens
réunies?
when
Donc,
these
si vous voulez
conditions
parler
are
un
not
peu
met.
des conditions
So
que
if you want to
vous pensez
speak about the
essentielles, mais aussi,
conditions
bon,
that you
qu'est-ce qui
think are
arrive lorsque ces
essential,
conditions
and
ne
what
sont
happens
pas
when these conditions are not
Peut-être faire un peu de
present.
pouce sur ce que Tita vient
So to
d'avancer
add
en lien avec
to
la
what
communication, je pense
Tida
aussi une chose
just said
que
about
j'ai appris
communication,
sur le terrain, c'est
what I've
qu'en lien
learned
avec
on the field
pas oublier ou
is
sous-estimer
that you
l'importance
can't
de la
forget or
communication
underestimate
humaine
the
et pas juste
importance of
écrite par
human
courriel,
communication, not
qui
just
peut parfois
written
apporter
like with
différentes
emails,
représentations à l'écrit
because
versus être capable de communiquer avec les
different
gens. Donc, c'est quelque chose
representations or interpretations
qui est
may happen
essentiel. Puis des
versus
fois,
direct
la
communication.
vie
This
va
is
vite, alors
essential.
des fois, c'est beaucoup plus facile
Sometimes
d'envoyer un
life
courriel que
is
prendre le
busy,
téléphone,
it's easier to send an
avec
email or
différentes
to call
familles,
someone
collègues,
or
peu importe.
to really speak face to
Il y a toute
face.
la question au
And this
niveau
happens.
aussi du respect des rôles de chacun,
Also,
savoir où sont
the
les
question
limites
of
de l'école en
respecting
lien
everyone's
avec,
roles,
par
where
exemple, les
the
rôles des
limits of a
personnes
school
TEE,
are,
un peu le
the
qui fait
role
quoi pour
of
pas
the
nécessairement
TEE people knowing
marcher
who
sur les
does
pieds, puis
what,
voir
so we
à
don't step
respecter un
on
peu
other
chacun nos
people's
mandats, soit
feet,
pédagogiques au
to
niveau de l'accompagnement
respect
de la famille.
each
Puis aussi l'engagement
person's
partagé
mandate,
entre le
mission,
système scolaire
and how we
et la
are
famille
supporting
pour vraiment
families.
voir
and shared engagement between the school system and families to allow open communication that will favor a child's well-being. So have moments where you check in with families to explain how things are working and never presume that parents know what's going on. So families have a lot to manage when they arrive. So we have to facilitate collaborative structures that will allow us to speak to one another. If we don't do that, families don't really know who to speak to. Is it the TAE, the school, my multicultural association? This creates a lot of ambiguity and uncertainties, frustration, incoherent messages, and sometimes this can make it so that we forget some children and we don't offer them adequate services to accompany them. And this can be discouraging for the team. People can find this a heavy burden. So that would be the most important elements for me.
Thank you so much, Sylvie. I will just repeat the question
Thank
for
you.
Maya in English. So again, a little bit like your colleagues just mentioned, what would be the 2 or 3 non-negotiable conditions for cross-sector collaboration to truly work and not just on paper? And what happens when these conditions are not met?
Okay, so 3 conditions are important here. First of all, trust and relationship building between the families and SWIS, families or student or the school staff, because we are working with the 3 of them as a SWIS. So I just will highlight the point and I will go through it. So trust and relationship building, and we have clear referral process and understanding the procedures. So for trust and relationship building, so as a school settlement staff, we are often the first point where the student will come to the school. We will take the referral from, let's say, Welcome In Center, or from the student who register by their own, or let's say from ISENS, whichever organization. So when they come to the school, we will be the first point they will contact with us, and we will help them. I will help them with their school things. So, which is establish the trust early with the student. When they come to school and they see me, they see us, we are help them and offering first orientations or school tours, or set up a power school for the student or their families. Genius Pass emails, these stuff to start the school. So in this case, I think the student, when he comes, or the newcomer students, they will increase they will trust us. So this is for the student, and for their families, so sometimes those families, they will come with their student to the school, so I can meet them in person. I can explain everything in the school, like with the families in person. Sometimes they are not able to come. It will be via phone or via emails. So this connection between me and the family, they will feel like trust, or they will feel comfortable, like there is someone caring for my kid in the school or for my students. So, and also because YMCA is the first, or like when the newcomers them to the Canada, they will, let's say, register or be a client at the YMCA or the ISENS. So, and YMCA is the first place. So when they came to school and they say stuff in the school from YMCA, it's increased more trust for the parents. And I want to say about the second thing is clear referral process and understanding of the procedure. So if I have a client who wants help, let's say for their financial support or they have like violence in home or whatever they have, they need in help. When they come to me, so I will refer them like in the right spot. They will and I will explain them the procedures where they will be like for example, let me give you example. If there is a student who asks for financial help and the rent, and I refer them to the school plus. So the student, he can speak English very well, but he asked me to be their kind of support and just helping him like to be there. And I went there, it was really clear. He asked me like, if you can help me to navigate with them, what's the next steps? So I think these 2 points, like it's a trust and relationship building and referral process and understanding the procedures is really good 2 points to build this communication between me and the student. So without these conditions, if it's not present, I think it will be gap, like there is gap in communication or more misunderstanding between me or student, or they will not be comfortable to ask me for help or support. So I think trust, communication, know the process, the procedure. So this is really, really highlighted elements for me and for the students and for their families. And also for the school staff, they are so supportive with me. They help me, they involve me in every situation. So I think they have my trust because helping, they can see my help, like helping the student and involve me in each story for each student. Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you so much. So yeah, we have seen a lot of these elements. So building trust, that in-person communication, a good referral process, good probably job descriptions or who does what. So that helps a lot. So I will again ask the same question to Leanne. So if you want to add anything else, or also in your opinion, what happens when these conditions are not met or put in place?
I think I'll take the latter part of the question because other people in this panel have done a very well job to answer the first part of the question about just the importance of what needs to be in place. When things do start to break down, that can really impact the level of engagement that students and families feel. They're already sort of a marginalized group, and that sense of belonging and sense of being part of a school community is very difficult sometimes to establish. And when organizations fail to collaborate appropriately, that can quickly break down. And we see that in the level of engagement of students, even in terms of their engagement, making friends, being a part of school and community activities. And even sometimes when it breaks down, classroom teachers and schools might not be in the know about very key important things that need to be in place to program and support families accordingly. We've worked very closely, we had a particular family in a more rural area of Halifax that didn't have, they didn't know that they had access to mobile support. And so, there was a family, they weren't engaged, the kids weren't going to school, they felt very isolated, but because of our good working relationship between our school district and the YMCA, we were able to have that direct line to say, whoa, this has been brought to our attention, there's a family that's really struggling, what can we do? And so school settlement came to the rescue, and we were able to get a few supports in places, and the kids slowly, there was a kind of a return to school plan, but it really helped. So I mean, we still face some of those struggles in more of these outlying areas, but I feel like the work that is being done is really starting to improve that. So you think, oh, I didn't get to that email in time, or I missed that meeting, but it doesn't take long before things can start to slide, and that just speaks to the work that the settlement workers or the SWIS workers are doing and the important role that they play in the lives of school staff and the students, and even some of the work that they do in the school in terms of building cultural understanding with the other students. It's been very, very impactful, the work that gets done. So when it starts to slide, you feel it very, very quickly, and the students kind of suffer because of it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I love this rural perspective as well, because coming from New Brunswick, we see how important these relationships are, mainly in the rural areas.
Yeah, and I think, and we've talked about that conditions that make collaboration work, and I think what's coming out of everything is the human side of things, whether it is human-centered processes or human-centered communication, the trust, it's all based on the human. And of course, the work that we're talking about is very human, which is humans are complex, and so it is a complex. So it's very interesting to see that that's coming out from all of the conditions. And Leanne, you kind of already touched on it a little bit, and you gave us some examples. If we want to switch more from the how to the so what, because the collaboration is ultimately going to lead us to the goal of impact, right? So when we talk about collaboration, when it is working well between the school staff, the SWIS, that TÉÉ, what kind of tangible changes can we see, whether it is in the school or in the community? I'm wondering, Leanne, if, as your role as an EAL, if you could share another concrete example of how that comes to play.
I can give a couple of examples. I have to be mindful of time because, I mean, I don't want to brag, but our Y team in Halifax has been phenomenal. And so from the aspect of EAL and working with EAL teachers and the Newcomer Welcome Center, we have different kind of lens. In terms of Newcomer Welcome Center, we have a direct line from our Immigration Settlement Services, Registration for School, and School Settlement team. So specific examples would be family brand new, they come through us, we get signed consent to share the information. It goes directly to the coordinator and the school settlement worker for that school to say, on March 1st, so-and-so will be starting school. School settlement worker typically tries their very best to be at that school and be with that student on the first day for the tour, for maybe a locker setup, meet your new teacher, meet your buddy, right? Maybe there's peer support. All of those things, that never happened. It's been incredible work when we have students starting school with special needs, because that can be very, very stressful for parents on top of all of the other things that they're facing, so that they know we've got a welcome center that is working so closely with their ISANS caseworker, with their school settlement caseworker, so it's relatively seamless from the time that they settle, they have their home, they go to school, and then YMCA. So it's been working very, very well. We're also able to identify other, like, financial needs. What do they need in their homes? What do the kids need for school? And sometimes what's been very nice is families, kids will be in school a week, a month, issues will crop up. They have a lot of people they can reach out to. They can reach out to Y Settlement, they can reach out to us, we connect. So one particular example, we had a youth at one of our high schools, and it came to the attention of Y Settlement and the EAL teacher that this young man was living on his own and really, really struggling. And so through our collaboration, he was able to come, because at the Welcome Center, what we have time that a lot of times schools don't, is we have time, right? We don't have all the interruptions of all the kids that need everything. And so we were able to sit with this young man and, get him set up on his CRA account, get him set up, I don't know, because my right hand at the Welcome Center does all the ins and outs of it, but dental and pharmacare and all of these things. And so he left thinking, okay. And so what Y Settlement was doing was keeping that young man engaged and going to school in the youth programming piece. And we were able to also do that basic day-to-day life piece. So that's been working very, very well. And from an EAL perspective, and this was actually quite recent, but it's been ongoing for a number of years, was recently we had World Read Aloud Day, and the EAL teachers and the classroom teachers and the Y settlement workers work quite closely to put this event on, and it's for the whole school, and they arrange guests, and they have writing your name in different language and learning different ways to do art, like teaching how to draw, and it's just very nice for that partnership to exist, because then that's modeling for all these other little young minds, right, to value other people. And so when other people and little kids are feeling that, you know, that's what we want for future generations, right, is that understanding and kindness. So not only are newcomer families and students feeling like a true part of the community where they are valued, and I'm sure New Brunswick's inclusive education policy is very similar to ours in that you have to acknowledge and value student belief and background, cultural, linguistic, all of that. And so it's been very nice to see. So I could go on, but I won't. But there's been a lot of examples of just great things happening. And I can kind of speak for Amy, the coordinator here in Halifax. We've also noticed a kind of a strengthening in that support since the Welcome Center is, I mean, still in its infancy, of course, but it's kind of also continued to kind of strengthen the ties between the school and us and the families. So it's been nice. They don't feel alone.
Thank you so much for sharing those examples. That's wonderful to hear from your perspective, and it just shows the holistic, approach in all of that, and helps to connect the needs depending on the sector. So it's all much better for the human at the center of that, the youth receiving that. So that's awesome. I'm gonna go back to Carmen for the next.
Parfait. Donc, la prochaine question, ça va être
The next
pour,
question
Sylvie
will be
et
for
Tita.
Sylvie and
Donc,
for Tita.
Un peu de contexte. On
So we'll give you a bit of
constate souvent
context.
que ce sont les
We often notice that it's the individual efforts of an engaged person that that make all the difference.
Toutefois,
This is among all the sectors. But these initiatives often rely on this personal will of that person, and do not always bring a durable, a sustainable change on the scale of the organization. So when the person leaves, and all these efforts and all these connections will leave with the person, what concrete, what tangible structure or official mechanism could we implement to have this collaboration in practice that will become a part of the organization and that won't leave with the person, if you have some examples? So Sylvie, if you want to start. For us at Francophone Sud, with time, so maybe we have we're talking about 15 years that went on, we have able to leverage some expertise that are linked with management projects. We have clear procedures that are linked with the welcoming and with the families. So this is coherent everywhere. The directives are standard everywhere, and we have a certain flexibility when it comes to schools in how they want to bring their own colors and how they want to welcome the families. But we still have guidelines that we give schools to make sure that the welcome could be similar to in school A than in school B. And we've seen that it brings some families to shop less for their own school. So that is a winning practice. We've seen this practice get better. And there's also the whole welcoming process that is with our people, and we couldn't do it without them. They have a key role in helping us through this process. We also have opportune meetings to make adjustments, follow up on files to see if we need to bring modifications. And we also have, as I said earlier, clarification on the communication and who does what, the platforms when we welcome them for the inscription and when we gather up the information. And we can place this information, these data, in a secure platform that respects our policies, because we need to respect the confidentiality, even for the students. This is data that can be made available to schools. It gives them important information, which will then help in transitioning towards a school. We have trainings in collaboration with our people, and we want to try to involve the schools and the TE people, and to help them not work on their own but together, and then create a synergy and have a team dynamics through all the programs to which Amira was alluding earlier. And with these programs, because I was at the head of a school, then the school can go above what the program is. They can partner with the TE person and see it as an ally. An ally is something important in this situation, and it allows us to go faster together, something like that. And when you ask me this question, it brings me back to this proverb. But to keep in mind that we go further when we work together in conditions that are predetermined and explicit, that are very clear, so everybody knows where they're going. Thank you very much. Tita, what do you think about that? I echo what Sylvie said, and I will add in a concrete way that to which the team can go above the program to collaborate with school management. We've had the idea in a school to have a parade of countries with their collaborations, and we take a census of all the countries that participate in the schools, and we go get those students to represent their countries, and there will be a parade in the corridors, in the hallways, and that is beautiful to see all this pride right there. So that's a really nice collaboration that we can have inside the school. I could also add that this could be sustainable, and it could keep on going before having an official agreement, to have meetings of partnerships, to meet, to have discussions and regular meetings. So for sure, if we don't meet, there's always things to do. There will always be work. But by planning meetings, regular meetings, be it with the teams or school management, like at the end of a school year, we can take some time to look at the surveys, to meet the school management, to discuss what goes well and what doesn't, and what we can improve. So that is very important. And to have a collaboration structure that is very clear, with a clear orientation process. For example, if there's an organization that is external, which is looking for information, or there is a situation where it has an impact on schools, well, they need to go through our team first in consultation, and then we'll orient them towards experts. So either we'll work together or we'll take charge of the file. And in the same way, if a family has very complex requests, because they cannot do everything, then sometimes we have case management to do. So sometimes we'll orient them where service providers for help. This is what I would put forward. Thank you very much.
Donc,
Sylvie,
comme tu as mentionné tantôt,
just like you mentioned earlier,
vous avez été dans un poste de direction.
that you were you occupied a position in school management position. What does a school expect from a TE program so that the collaboration could become, you could leverage this collaboration, and not become a load. Sometimes we hear that the program will really help you. Really, you know what I'm talking about? Obviously, school there's a lot of movement. It's very dynamic. I'm talking about Montreal. Things move around very quickly. I think one of the conditions that's very important is to be clear. We're talking about knowing how and when TÉÉ people are to intervene, and what is under their function and what doesn't concern them. Because Amira gave a portrait earlier of what could be like something of a superhuman situation, but there's still certain limits. Some things are for the school management and other things are for teachers, but it's really important to have this clarity. The undertaking of that family, the taking charge of that family and the quickness in that is very important to establish trust. It never happened to me, but I can imagine that when people arrive in a new context and we add language obstacles within all that, then we need people around us to tell us that everything is going to go A-OK and to be taken care of quickly, to be coherent in our messaging. So be it with the double messaging or contradictory messaging that we try to avoid, the cultural support that is possible within the school to work with teachers in the schools to give them the tools they need and see how we can work in this changing landscape with different cultures that are being added to the schools. It's something that in our schools, some of them are welcoming a lot of students coming from immigration. So maybe in our school, in an urban region, but maybe in the more rural areas where they will be welcoming their first family from the immigration. So they panic. What do we do? And we try to have support for them. But on the level of the school, on the administrative level, then the availability to be able to consult quickly, to help students, their parents, to understand the French-speaking school system, in our case, so that they might have all the information they need for all their kids who will attend school, to facilitate the integration of newcomers and of their families in our school systems, to tell them about the different services. For example, all the programs that we have in which we've talked about this afternoon. We also need to facilitate the friendliness with certain resources that can be more community-oriented and that could belong a little bit less to school, but to help them integrate better and to remain in our communities. Thank you. Can I ask you a follow-up question? Because you've just mentioned that if you, for example, you go into a school in a rural area, and this is something that we see that is not rare in New Brunswick. Like you said, in Moncton, they could be welcoming a lot of kids, a lot of children, and then you come to Tracadie or Shippagan, and for them, this is something more, this is newer. For example, what would be, you have one TEE in a school in Shippagan, for example. What would be the very first thing that the TEE would do to de-escalate the fears that the people could have? Maybe let's say it's the first day. What does it do? What does that person do? For sure, to diminish, to attenuate certain obstacles, to be ready to have structures in place to guide actions, that will help a lot. So I'm talking about presentations, clear ones, about their mandate. We've talked about it earlier, the work plan, to propose a simple collaboration model with people in the schools and where they will collaborate. Because it's also important to involve schools within this. It's not necessarily school that will want to collaborate in the same way, but it doesn't mean they don't want to collaborate.
Justement. Aussi, essayer d'être un peu proactif dans
You can
certains
also
suivis,
try to be
peut-être
more
avec
proactive in certain follow-ups with some families or students that have a more difficult transition. Maybe as a school, it would be good to have a system to try to go to prevent some obstacles. We need to have mechanisms in place and share ideas and have strategies. But union will help facilitate communication with the families. We need to give values to, we need to recognize the strength in all of our schools. They're creative. Some of them are more, like if we go back to 2007, when I started my career, there was no structure at all. Nobody had determined who does what and how and starting with what. We needed to try things. We failed and we got back up and we tried to find other partners to really think this through. You need to go forward. You need to go to really run forward. And the processes that we have in place, and it's important to have people on the field as well and have them in our schools. I know that some of our TÉÉ people share several schools, but during the day when they're in school, it would be very different than if that person was in an office far from the school. It's important to have them close by. This is a very winning strategy. I would like to further this Sylvie's answer. What she said is very important, but there is also a welcoming profile that we receive from the countries. That means after they have gone through the admission process. This process comes to us before the first school day. The management know a little bit about this profile. So if at this first meeting, so maybe they will have a translator or interpreter to help them, to reassure the family. And it's very good, like Sylvie was saying, to have someone in person, to have this face-to-face presence, to have a gain of trust, and to keep the discussion rolling. So even after the school visit, take some time to sit down with the family, have some information, a debriefing, orientation to explain how everything is working. And we also ask the TÉÉ to send an email after that meeting to welcome, to wish, to have some welcoming wish to these newcomers. And we also have flyers that we can distribute, links that we can send. I just wanted to say that we can also do that within the communication spectrum. Thank you, Tita and Sylvie.
We've heard now a little bit about from that when the SWIS services are embedded in the school environment, which is very rich. And so now I'd like to perhaps go with Maya next. Maya, as you work, in your as a SWIS within the YMCA, when you think about the school partners, what do you wish school partners knew about the SWIS program? You talked a little bit of the conditions, about the trust and all of that. Can you speak a little bit about how you've started or how you've maintained that relationship with school partners and what you wish that they would know about all the work that you do from the YMCA in perspective?
Yeah, sure. So it's for me, SWIS, it's not an additional service. It's like a bridge. It's a bridge between school and family. Yes. So our role is to provide individualized support, encourage students and family participation, and connect families to resource both in the school and in the community, as we are community migrant organization. Yes. So here I just, like what I do, I wish for, yes. So there is some families, they have barrier with technology use often. Like sometimes they don't know how to read the emails, how to answer the phone calls. It's like maybe language barrier. So in these cases, I support them a lot. Like let's say I'm working with 5 departments in the school, learning center, EAL, principal, the office, the guidance, counselors, learning center, yeah, this is with, like let's say disability students, help them with the translation, with support. So sometimes they include me, sometimes for translation interpretation for them, and sometimes they ask for additional language, like I'm speaking Arabic, English, they sometimes ask for Spanish language, so I send referrals sometimes to I if there is provide interpretation. So this is really helpful for the families and the student. And there is, I want to say about language and technology literacy barrier. So sometimes family, like from their background, they are different from their culture, from their, yeah, because we have like several types of like backgrounds for students and their families. So sometimes when I involved like to help them explain about their cultures, or if they ask me for help, yeah. So I think this is points which I'm doing in the school more, and I wish like they know it. Yes. So stuff like Swiss stuff are available to support students. Yeah. Again, school communication and integration for the family support process. Like the better we are able to do our work when schools understand and like know our role more.
Yes. And that's really important what you're saying, because I think that helps to help school partners understand what your role is, and kind of to what Sylvie was saying earlier about who does what, to be able to help to, foster that collaboration and not only trust with perhaps the youth that you support or the families, but also with the school partners, so that you can work together.
Yes,
it's kind of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. Thank you.
Yeah, this is so important. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And perhaps now going into some of our student perspective, I would like to perhaps start with a bit of a broad question, if you will. When you were starting school in Canada, we are wondering if you could share with us maybe what excited you the most. Like, did you have some, dreams or very things that you were so excited about and that made you, happy and really, excited about? And perhaps on the flip side of that, was there anything that perhaps worried you a bit? And what were those experiences, if you could share? So perhaps I'll start with you, Rhoda.
Okay. For me, when I started school in Canada, I was really excited for the new experience. That means meeting new friends, just learning in a completely different environment was, I was very excited to start that. And amidst that, I was very worried because English is not my first language, and the language barrier was there, so I was afraid that I wasn't gonna be able to speak to my classmate or teachers, so that stood in the way of, I guess, enjoying the excitement that I had. Yeah, that's all.
And of course, if you're having that, fear, it's like you're maybe not able to fully come present and really engage. So I can understand that. Thank you for sharing. Hora, how about you?
I would say something that definitely excited me is the variety and range of options that we had when it comes to choosing courses. This really allows for students to choose the courses that they know would benefit them more in the specific careers that they want to pursue. Something that I would say worried me a little, and this is a little silly, it has to do with my school. I go to Halifax West High School, and it's a huge school. And I'm talking both physically, the building, as well as the student body. I mean, there's, I think, over 2,000 students. And so it was kind of hard for me to figure out just, I mean, it felt like a maze being there, honestly, you know, trying to figure out the classes and so on and so forth. It definitely felt really confusing first days, but, you know, the YMCA was there to help. So that's that.
Of course, like I also remember when I first came to Canada, the buildings looked, for me was like they look very small. So even the physical building can either look big or small, and that can play a part in how you feel. So totally, thank you for sharing. And Hala, how about you?
I was excited about starting a new chapter in Canada and meeting a new people. But I was also worried about my academic level and the class on the people and the language barrier because my language in the Arabic. Adjusting to a new country and a new school was stressful at first day, but I reminded myself that the challenges help us grow, so I kept going.
Wow, that's very inspiring and very wise. Yes, she deserves a round of applause.
A lot of people can
Shukran, Hala. And so if we actually just inspired by Hala's response, if you could share with us one thing that made you feel welcomed when you arrived at school, and maybe one thing that, if you think back at your experience, if you think, if I would have had that, that would have really helped me. What could that be? So maybe, Rhoda, I go back to you.
For me, what made me feel welcome was having a school settlement there, honestly, because I went, like when I first time in school, I was shown the room, and I felt not alone because there were other newcomer students too there, so it was a very like welcoming. I felt that I belong, so that was a very important thing that made me feel welcomed. And for the second one is, could you repeat?
Yeah. No, it says if you the question is more about, let's say if you think back at your experience, if you could think about, I wish I had that, then now I know it would have helped me. If there's something you could share.
Drawing back on the school settlement, we only had one staff at that time, so I feel like if we had more, it was more limited. Like there was time that was directly put down, and they only come in for a little bit. So I feel like if we had a lot of staff to engage with, it could have been a lot better. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we capture that in the report for the funders. Thank you, Rhoda. So Hala, I'll go back to you before going to Hura.
I felt welcome because of my guidance. We helped me support. She organized my documents. This has showed me understand and make sure I was placed in the right grade. Also, Miss Maya at the YMCA helped me adjust in my grade because my mark is very low and it's gonna be like 70%, and it just me helping improve in the academic subjects.
Mabruk. Hala?
I think, I think Maya touched upon this as well. It's, you know, the whole idea of like being the bridge between the families and the school. That was definitely a big thing for me because most newcomer families, parents specifically, might not speak English as their first language. And that can definitely be a problem for a lot of students. I know that, you know, when I was sick or I had to take, you know, I couldn't go to school for a day, they couldn't necessarily call the school directly and let them know. And so what they did is they, you know, got in contact with Maya, and she would let the school know. And I would say, oh my God, that kind of got loud for a second. Yeah, something that I did kind of struggle with is definitely the transcripts. There are different transcript systems everywhere. I would say even not just different continents, but different countries. So I kind of was worried about whether my transcript would get transferred here and whether that would be accepted. And I know that from my personal experience and also friends of mine who also shared the same experience. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. And I think the three of you already touched on you know, the critical role that the Swiss workers played in that integration as well in your welcoming. Could you perhaps share another example from your experiences of something that a SWIS would have done, or maybe some other support that you received in your school integration, your experience that really had a real impact, like a positive impact? I don't know if Rhoda, we can go back to you first.
Okay. For me, the school settlement team, the YMCA school settlement team, supported me very, very much. And by that, they connected me to many other community organizations too, and where I was able to, where I was able to gain like leadership skills and all sorts that later played into school and many things that I was doing. And so that was a very thing that still impacting me, yes. And so particularly Amy, she's very, has a lot of things that she have done in my life, so yeah, that's all. Okay, yes, so I was, through the the school settlement, I was able to participate in other YMCA opportunities, such as YCAN. I was recently on a committee too on speaking for the community, the youth that could not speak, or youth that wanted to say something, but they didn't have a voice, so I was the voice there. So those were examples of the experience that I gained through the connection that Amy put me through, yeah. That's all.
Oh, that's amazing, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Hala?
The support from SWIS made me transition easier and less stressful. Also, the school staff, the YMCA, Miss Maya, she has played a big role in my academic success by helping me overcome language challenges and improve my grades and building me a confidence.
Beautiful, thank you for sharing that. And Hura?
I would say the most significant thing that they helped me with is connect me with different scholarship options. I think that is something that's very necessary, and generally if you're a newcomer, you might have not really thought about that as much and not have done as much research simply because haven't been here long enough. And so that definitely helped. As soon as I got accepted into university, she immediately sent me all these scholarship links and so on. And that's something that's very significant. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's so important what each and every one of you is saying, because like we had Amira's presentation that tells us about how complex the role can be, but through what you're sharing with us, your stories, you're actually letting us know how the SWIS worker is more than a worker. It's a friend. It's a link. It's an integration, and that is so important. It actually an advocate. It shows just how it is above and beyond what a job description would have. So thank you so much for sharing. And I guess perhaps as a last question to you three, if you could send one message to school staff or to another SWIS, what would that be? Rhoda?
Yeah, I can go. For school staff, I highly recommend that you recognize that newcomer students needs both academic and human connection. And by that, I strongly believe that they should connect with YMCA school settlement, because they can gain ways to help or reach a hand to those students. And I believe that by partnering, that would definitely help, the students. And for the settlement, I would say that continue your work, honestly. It impacts a lot of people. Like my life, I am doing international development studies, and I want to go to advocacy because of my experience with the settlement. So, yeah, thank you.
I am thankful to the school for creating a supporting environment that helped me, and I am especially grateful to Miss Maya for helping me improve my grades and believe in myself.
I would just appreciate their effort in creating a welcoming environment and promoting diversity, and as you mentioned, really going above and beyond even what's expected per se, and putting in more time and energy and effort than, again, what's expected of them. Really, I think, that shows that they truly care about the future of the students.
Thank you so much. So, SWIS-TÉÉ, I hope you feel all the wave of love coming to you. Your role is essential. Everything you do is essential and amazing. Thank you. So, for really our next and final, and I think we will have some time for a few questions from the audience. So, prepare them already in advance before we go into just a few, I think, one or two. I'm going to hand it back to Carmen for closing.
Parfait. Donc, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup à ces jeunes femmes.
Thank you very much to all those young ladies for their sharing of their experiences. So now, in conclusion, I will ask to Liane, Sylvie, Maya, and Tita to tell us a little bit, starting from tomorrow morning, what concrete action can we bring to the table to improve the experience of family because of a better collaboration?
What concrete action could improve the experience of families through better collaboration? So, je vais commencer avec Tita.
I'm going to start with Tita.
Je dirais, j'ai beaucoup de choses, mais peut-être
I
quelques
would
points.
say a lot of things, but maybe a few
Toujours dans la
words.
communication, mais une
Always
visibilité
with
des
communication,
projets, des programmes.
but
On en a
always with
parlé tout
the
à l'heure
visibility
pour
of
nous, on a
projects
toujours
and
une
programs.
programmation,
And we
mais
spoke
c'est
about
bien
that
d'avoir une
earlier on.
programmation, mais c'est bien
It's
aussi
great to have a program, but
donner
it's also great
des
to
résultats de ces projets-là
give
à travers
results
nos
of
réseaux
those
sociaux.
projects
On montre,
through
on a des
our
photos de ces
social
activités-là.
networks. We can
On
demonstrate, we
montre
can show
aussi
pictures, we
combien
can show
d'élèves
activities, we
ont
can show how many
été
students
impliqués,
were
combien
involved,
d'ateliers a été donné,
and
combien
how
de
many
pourcentage de
workshops were
satisfaction
given,
par
how many
les
percentage of
enseignants, les
satisfaction
enseignantes, les
were
partenaires. Donc,
given by
donner aussi
teachers
cette
or
visibilité de
partners.
l'effort que
So
nous
to give
faisons,
also
que
this
l'équipe
visibility of the
TEE
effort that we're
fait au
doing, that we're
quotidien.
putting
Ça,
through
je trouve
for
que c'est
the
très important de
TEE
continuer
team
là-dessus.
daily. So I think
Aussi
it's really
de
important to
rechercher
continue
une
on that
amélioration
end.
continue.
So
Qu'est-ce
I
qu'on
always
peut,
search
si on
for
doit
continuous
refaire,
improvement
qu'est-ce qu'il faut
and to know if we
changer,
can
quels sont les
redo things, if
défis
we need to
qu'on
change,
peut
what are the
relever la prochaine fois,
challenges, issues,
apprendre de ses
or
erreurs aussi,
challenges that we
et
can tackle
écouter
next
les
time,
autres
and learning
qui peut
from our errors
alimenter
as well, and listening to
ces
others so we
améliorations-là.
can actually
Et
feed
l'amélioration des
those
compétences,
improvement
faut pas oublier aussi
and skill improvement as well.
d'aider
Let's
nos
not forget
TE
we need
dans
to
leur quotidien
note them
en
and to
donnant des
help them in their daily
formations,
life
même
by
des
giving
formations à travers
training
des partenaires qui
or
peuvent
giving
nous aider
training through
là-dessus.
partnerships
Ça,
that
ce
could
serait
help
pour
that
nous aussi,
us
la
on
force
that.
du réseau. Voilà.
Parfait.
So that's
Merci
going to be the
beaucoup.
strength of the
I
network,
will go
of
to
course.
Maya.
That's perfect. And I will go to Maya.
Okay, so same what you say, like, yeah, same. So more workshops, more help with families, newcomers families or students, and helping them with their journey in the school, more workshops and their needs. So some people, they need help, more education system here in Canada, and yeah, so help them, more workshops, and integrate with them. So yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sylvie?
Dans un monde d'arc-en-ciel, de licornes et
A
d'arc-en-ciel,
word of
chaque école à travers le
unicorns
Canada,
and rainbows.
côté
Each school
francophone et
throughout
anglophone
Canada,
aurait un
on the
travailleur
francophone or
TE ou
anglophone side,
Swiss,
would
si
have
on se ramène
a SWIS-TÉÉ worker, but if we're keeping things real, I'm going to come back to break times and to have a great communication. I think that's a key element to help students, but our families as well. It's going to help us to quickly identify if we have punctual check-ins to do with our teams. That's giving us a chance to identify quickly what families need, and also allows us to make sure that school is in collaboration with the key person, is sending common messages that actually avoids misunderstanding. As Wian was mentioning earlier on, when things are not going or taking the wrong route, it goes quickly. So maybe that can allow us to address and tackle a problem before it becomes a crisis. And also to demonstrate to the family that our partners work really, truly together. And I think this message around the table, not only staff from the school staff and organization and the staff that are there to support them, demonstrate this will of creating action, daily action that will have coherent impact for the children, for their family, and to allow them to have a sentiment of belonging and welcoming for the families that are they chose a place where they can and want to come and be settled.
This is very simple and very tangible. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to start the process of sharing with all of our principals the same referral process that we do at the Welcome Center, because we don't catch all newcomers or all permanent residents. And there are a lot of students out there that are likely missing out on support. I don't know what your other systems are like, but in Halifax, there's a whole privacy thing, and it's very, very difficult for our settlement workers to get the information. So I think tomorrow I'm going to start the process so that all and principals will appreciate that too, right? So it was Amy's idea, and I'm half embarrassed I didn't think of it a lot sooner. So anyway, yeah. So that's one very, I think, impactful, tangible, doable thing that I will do tomorrow.
Awesome. We will all be rooting for you. We'll ask you, did you start?
It will get done. Yeah, and I can't imagine they will say no.
Don't take no for an answer.
I don't.
Ben, parfait, merci beaucoup. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. A great hand of applause for everyone, for our panelists.
Donc, comme on avait dit, on a encore
As
quelques
we
minutes
said,
pour prendre
we
une
still
ou
have a
deux
few minutes
questions.
to
Donc,
take maybe one or two
ou des
questions
commentaires. Je pense que les commentaires
or
sont aussi
comments. I
bien
think comments
bien
are
entendus
also
puis bien
welcome, of
reçus.
course.
Alors,
They're always
y
well
a-t-il
received.
quelqu'un qui
So, is there
aimerait poser
someone
une question? Je vois une
that would
personne
like
ici.
to
Donc,
ask a
est-ce que
question?
nous
I see
avons
someone
je
here.
pourrais te donner mon micro?
Can I give you my microphone?
Thank you so much. Thank you for this amazing session and everything that you shared. It was all great to hear. I'm Afra from Central Vancouver Island Multicultural Society. So I thought, because there is not much of a Western representation, I thought I'll just give my voice here. So with my organization, we have a memorandum of understanding with the school district. So we have a MOU since 2019, which we renew every year, and we meet with the school administration and the school registration twice a year to review that. So having a memorandum of understanding helps us to do all the school registrations for the newcomer families. So this way we get to do the assessments. They're already on our database, and we also have school district emails. So it's a very small team, just a team of 4. But because we have this emails, it's so much better for us to communicate with the staff, share private data. So it doesn't have any privacy breach, so this really helps us. And we also have a case manager within our team, so this case manager is able to work with the youth with complex needs, so they are welcome into any confidential meetings, and we work with MCFD, CDC, just to support these families. We have a family liaison within the team of 4 who exclusively works with the families, having workshops, info sessions, and any topics that's in demand. We recently had a topic for families on secondary, post-secondary options and grants. We also had a session which was Strong Families, Strong Futures. This was around 5 to 6 topics that was around internet safety, food nutrition, youth mental health, and various topics that we felt that families shared during their assessments as a need. And one of the successes of having this MOU is that we have rent-free space from the school district, so this helps us have our camps, our friendship clubs, and we recently had an event for the youth, the newcomer youth, and ST68 gave us the space, and the ELL staff helped with transporting 120 youth for the event, and it was a great event. The newcomer youth got to connect with all these different youth from 9 secondary schools, and we also had the youth who were not eligible clients, like Canadian citizens, and who are not eligible, but they volunteered. So it was ELL staff, the Swiss workers, the youth volunteers together made this a success. So I thought it would be valuable to share this model, and I also presented this model in the recent AMSA forum. And yeah, it was really welcome, and I think that is a great, great model. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Hello, I'm Leah. I'm from Yorkton, Saskatchewan, East Central Newcomer Welcome Center, right close to the Manitoba border. So most of you probably don't know where I am, but so we're very rural. And I just wanted to note on the partnership with the school divisions. We work within 2 school divisions, and we have a very, very close partnership with both of them. One of them has just implemented an online registration system. So we can still do them on paper, but they really want them done online. And then one of the first questions on there is the student a Canadian citizen? And when you check no, then the family's not permitted to proceed with the application process. They have to come through us. So it will send an automated code to my email if it's one of my schools, and then I'm expected to assist the family with that registration. So basically the mandate is that if the family's not Canadian citizens, then they are required to come through our organization. So that really helps us to not have anybody falling through the cracks, and all the students are getting support. Sometimes we'll meet with them. They came from another province. They've been in Canada for a long time, but they're still mandated to come through me, and then their involvement with SWIS after that is obviously up to them. But, and then we also, that was one of our school divisions for the online form, and then our other school division, we also have similar to that memorandum of understanding with an agreement as well, that the schools are not to put through those registrations without my involvement or my other SWIS staff's involvement. So just wanted to share that input.